Okay, guys, I've got Stalin and Roadcone from my Discord here doing a Left Unity stream. Um,
Matt,
huh?
I can't hear you very well at all. Like you're very choppy right now.
Oh,
My
In the
internet is wild, but okay now.
well, issues right off the bat.
are you using like voice like detect whatever?
I don't think so.
Well, I think you should either be pushing the push to talk button sooner or like lowering the sensitivity range or raising the sensitivity range for like what counts as your voice.
Oh, should I be using push to talk anyway?
Maybe you could. Yeah, I think push to talk would be fine.
Okay. Or did you say like decrease or increase the sensitivity?
I guess increase the sensitivity because like you're cutting out at the start and like the end of what you're saying. I can
Okay.
only
Am I okay?
yeah, you sound fine.
All right.
Are we all good now?
I can hear you much better.
All right, that's what I did. Okay.
Cool.
So, Stalin is a tanky, and Roadcone is just like a socialist, or like.
Yeah, market socialist, I guess, like developing my ideas about the economy basically.
All right, and then I'm obviously the anarcho-communist princess of the whole situation. So we were talking about, or you guys mainly were talking about, the value of artistic work in a socialist context.
Yeah. So, I guess my position is that music and the arts are like should be of equal or like maybe slightly less value of like material work to a society just because of the good that it does like on a psyche or like entertainment level. I think entertainment should still be valuable in a socialist society.
Sure, I agree with that. But like, I'm having a hard time defining like how it should be like evaluated or like I don't know if you understand what I mean.
I think are you saying that are you
Like,
saying that it's like worth less or like what?
well, I don't think like musicians should make like a crazy amount of money like they do in capitalist societies.
Sure. Well, okay. Individual musicians don't make a lot of money in a capitalist society, but like music, like
Mm-hmm.
industry musicians, like Ariana Grande or whatever, like
Yeah,
performer.
sure.
Um, but yeah, like randos in bands who like play the clarinet or whatever don't
Mm-hmm.
get paid much. Of course, I play the clarinet. Um, but yeah, I just don't think it's. I don't really like the idea that art would be worth less in the same way that writing wouldn't be worth less, you know?
I mean, I think worth would depend on like society's needs. Like,
But
I don't think art would be as worthy as like as valuable as like actual material production if like people's basic needs aren't met. Like, at a certain point, art becomes valuable, I think.
value maybe this is silly of me, but doesn't like value based on society's needs sound kind of capitalist? Like
No.
I guess I'm just trying to figure out what you're saying.
I mean, I don't really have like a fixed opinion on this yet. I'm like
Yeah,
still thinking about it. like I think the like musicians should be paid, but like I don't know how because I understand how it functions under capitalism. Like they go to shows and they get like wages or they get paid or like I don't know, they just get paid for like doing music. But under socialism, I'm just like I don't really grasp yet how they should be like
Compensated for their labor.
yeah.
Well, okay. I think it becomes a little easier when you get to talk about like composers or whatever, like people who contribute, like who like create original music for the purposes of entertainment. But yeah, I agree with like
Mhm.
with like performers, it gets kind of muddy. I guess I don't know. I feel like the safe answer would just be to like UBI type things.
Mhm.
Um, but as far as that labor goes, I'm not really sure.
Well, do we all agree that it counts as labor still? Like that's still working. Like it takes work to write music and
I
produce creative
Yeah, sure.
I
products.
I agree that music is labor. Yeah.
But like how I see, I think like there should be a system where like the best musicians become like professional musicians where they can do this like full time and
Hmm.
actually live off of it instead
Yeah.
of like I don't know if you understand.
Yeah. No, I think I get it. I think I feel like we probably agree. Um, it seems like at a base level, you value music, but your distinction between productive labor and like another type of labor, or like your thing where you want to value productive labor over the arts is kind of what bothers me, I guess.
Okay. Well, I just think that like productive labor is primary.
Even even
But
call even calling it productive labor just seems presumptuous to me because music is productive.
I guess yeah.
Like productive is definitely like a super subjective type thing, you know.
Yeah, I understand that. But like I mean more like working on the productive forces of society and stuff.
Like manufacturing, you mean?
Yeah.
So like material labor is what you're saying.
hmm But like ideally the difference between material and intellectual labor should eventually be like bridged. Like eventually workers should do like both instead of like how we have today where like they only do manual labor and don't do any intellectual labor or the contrary.
Well, isn't that one of the biggest like problems with capitalism and what makes it such like a meaningless malaise is that like your
Yeah, sort of.
people's artistic spirit is crushed by their soul crushing jobs and things like that.
hmm
I think ideally we should. Okay, I'm not actually sure. I think ideally it would be like we just give people, enough money to, survive, at a base, and then whatever they work for, they gain additionally, right? Is that basically like the economic theory that we're working under right now?
Not really. Well, not mine at least. I think
What?
I stated mine, but it's like if you don't work, you don't like get any of society's benefits basically.
Isn't But that sounds capitalist though.
I mean, the difference between capitalism and socialism, there would be still be like the incentive to work that if you don't work, you'll just like starve. But the difference is that if you work under socialism, you'll get like the full rewards of your work instead of being like expropriated by the capitalist. And under communism, it would be different, obviously, but it's just
So
like
do we
for
just
the
like
transition.
so do we just like kill disabled people? I mean, obviously, like you're not saying that, but
Well,
like,
okay, there's a exception as like disabled people, but like if someone is like fully capable to work and just refuses to, I don't think they should like get the benefits
but
from the
what?
socialist society because they're just not a part of it.
But what is refusing though? Like, is being a stay-at-home mom refusing?
No, it's not like because you're laboring.
Okay, so stay-at-home moms are compensated. I'm
Like,
I'm trying to think of, and so people in school are compensated, correct?
yeah, I think students should be like fully compensated.
I guess I'm trying to think of a situation in which someone wouldn't be able to work because, like, the
I'm
state.
talking about like willingly not working.
What about like what if you're caring for like a loved one? Like, is that work?
I mean, it depends on the like every scenario, but if you actually have to take care of your loved one like full time, like yeah, I guess it is work.
Hmm.
Like,
I
I'm
just don't.
talking about like,
I just don't
let's
know
say
if.
someone. Okay, I'll let you talk.
Oh, my bad. No, I don't mean to interrupt at all. I want to, make sure I'm giving you time to speak or whatever.
Okay, yeah, me too. I'm like, so we keep starting sentences at the same time.
Yeah, I know it's definitely hard with like voice chat delay and whatever, but
hmm
you go first.
All right, so like I think like people who like just decide to like stop working and like stay at home and play video games shouldn't benefit from, society's production. That's
Sure, but I think ideally, like the society would incentivize, like heavily incentivize work, not necessarily like economically hamper people who choose not to.
I mean, I don't see it as economically hampering.
I mean, you are like you're not giving them the tools to like live.
Well, because they're not using them.
I like maximum there. I don't think a lot of these problems of people not working would exist if we didn't have such a like exploitative economic system, right?
Yeah, I agree. Like under socialism, education would be free. Everything would be free. You could just become whatever you want.
Right.
Like
Yes, I don't know if this, like stay at home and play video games, kind of like doomerism would exist really. So I think
hmm
I guess, I'll agree with you just on the basis that like that probably wouldn't happen, but I think there still should be some kind of safety net because it's hard for the state. It's hard for me to say that the state should be able to decide what is valuable and what is not, right? That sounds kind of like just weird.
well, it doesn't necessarily have to be the state though.
Okay, so like, what? How would we decide what's valuable and what's not?
I don't know. You could do like mass. Like you could get opinions from the people, I guess.
But then, how do we decide? But then, like, that then it becomes a thing where like you're letting the people. I, I I feel like that's still a problem because the people have their biases, you know,
Yeah, sure. I agree.
which could be like facilitated by the state, right? Like propaganda and whatnot, you know.
Yeah.
So I just think it's like a safer moral option to have a baseline level of, um, you know, income or whatever for people to do with what they please. Because if they're already incentivized to contribute to society in a socialist system, then why do we necessarily need to worry about like so-called like leeches to society? You know, it just seems a lot safer to not worry about what people's work is necessarily worth and give them the tools to survive like as a given.
I don't think we disagree that much here.
Yeah,
Um,
sure, yeah.
Like I really think like full employment is really important. Like giving a job to just everyone who needs one. Um, like there's no really opportunity for someone to just live off the labor of others. I like because there's no real incentive to do it, and I don't like. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying for sure.
Well, when we say like he who doesn't work doesn't eat, we're talking about like the owner class, right? Like that's aimed at people who just manipulate money and just like sit on a bunch of cash that they got out of exploiting other people's work.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
Because they're the real welfare queens. Like the caricature of like this like dismal,
Socialism for the rich.
yeah, the
Yeah, that kind of
lazy
thing.
like person who can work but doesn't or chooses not to is kind of like just
Yeah,
invented as a boogeyman because like that the people who say that are the real people who are doing that.
yeah, I
Sure.
definitely agree. Like, like people just live off their assets basically. Like they don't contribute anything to society, but they make millions and millions and millions.
But the god damn it, can I speak? The other point that I was thinking of was like, do we all think that like humans are entitled to like their basic needs being fulfilled basically just by virtue that we're all humans? Like, is that something a position we could all land on?
I'm kind of in that camp. Yeah.
I'm not really in that camp. Like I think in a post-scarcity world, sure, but we're not in a post-scarcity world, so everyone should have to work to get their basic needs met.
Well, like full scale final stage communism kind of requires the problem of scarcity to be neutralized somehow.
Yeah, yeah, communism is definitely post-scarcity.
I don't really have much to say on this, I guess, because I haven't really thought about like post scare. It's hard for me to think in that framework, just because
Yeah,
we're.
well, like I don't really think about it. I just don't think it's really useful to think about like actual communism, how it's gonna be or how it's gonna play out because
Yeah.
it's,
Don't want to sound like a larper.
I don't know, I
yeah, but
like
it's
that.
also
Like
just way too far in the future to tell anything.
I like having my positions grounded in an ideal world that I would like to see because I feel like it's like we're working towards something, like actually something that could conceivably exist no matter how far in the future that it would.
Sure. Yeah, I'll agree with that.
I don't agree with that.
Is that idealism, Stalin?
Yes, sorry. I don't know. I don't see it as like working towards something. I see it as looking at where we are today and moving further than what we are today instead of going working towards something. I don't, if that makes sense.
Right, but I think we should probably kind of do both. Like you can't just ignore the way things are now at the same time is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah, so Stalin, I think she's saying that there needs to be like a balance between like idealism and pragmatism. Like I don't like I feel like if you're I'll definitely agree that if you're working like too idealized, then you're like kind of you might come off as delusional. And if you're working too like pragmatic, like in the now, right now, then you're not really working towards anything. I'll definitely agree with that.
I mean, one of my big issues with idealism is that like our views on morality and how things should be are like very subjective and dependent on like our living situations and like what we've learned and blah blah blah. So like working towards an ideal objective is kind of weird because it's not really like.
But I don't know if it's necessarily idealism to acknowledge that there is an ideal that we're working towards. I don't think she's saying that we're gonna like wake up tomorrow and be in like I feel like she's just laying it out to look at and be like, this is what we're moving in the direction of with incremental policies.
Yeah,
I
pretty
mean,
much.
sure, yeah.
Don't let me speak for you, Maddie.
No, totally, you got it.
Sure, like I don't disagree.
Well, I think like honestly,
W for road.
we might kind of be like inverted versions of each other in a way, Stalin, because like I don't like just having conversations about so-called socialist states that have attempted it in the past or presently all the time. Like
Hmm.
that to me is boring because it's like, why don't you argue with me about what I actually believe in instead of what these people are doing like on the other side of the globe? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. But at the same time, it's like I also think it's important to look at examples that actually happened. But yeah, I agree that like getting just into debates about like socialist experiments is really like not productive
and I think that
most
just
of the time.
contributes to like it contributes to the myth that socialism just equals the government doing shit, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Stalin, I'll say, um, it's hard to like look at what socialist countries or whatever are doing, or what socialist things other countries are doing, when we definitely live in a world where America is like one of the strongest countries in the world, so we have power to like put economic sanctions on economic systems that we don't like. So it's hard
Hmm.
for socialist society to flourish when like it's disincentivized like in the modern world or whatever, you know.
Yeah, I agree. But it's kind of like why siege socialism is like basically the only way forward because of like capitalist aggression.
Ooh.
What is
It's true
sorry,
though. Like look at
sorry, I'm
Cuba. They've been in an embargo for like 60 years or something.
sorry, I'm unfamiliar. What is siege socialism?
Socialism in one country.
Okay. So wait,
So like
sorry. Say the thing again. Say what you said again. Siege socialism is necessary
because like there are like external threats that will come to like try to destroy what you're like building socialism like the US has done many times.
I see. So you're talking about like complete isolationist socialism then, right?
Well, not necessarily complete isolationist, but definitely like, defensive in that sense. Like a siege, like a fortress basically.
Okay. Hmm.
I definitely advocate for like short-term socialist militarism as long as capitalist imperialist militarism is rampant. Like I think that Iran should build nukes like
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
example, even
nuclear
though they're not
honestly,
a
nuclear
socialist nation,
weapons
but continue, Stalin.
nuclear
Nuclear
weapons are
weapons.
very effective as a deterrent. Like
Yeah.
look at all the countries that don't have them and got like just invaded and bombed into shit, like Syria, Afghanistan, etc., etc.
But long term, if we want to talk about ideals and things like that, I think that, a demilitarized, decentralized socialist society would be preferable.
True.
I mean, I don't know about decentralized, but yeah, like eventually militaries and armies will stop existing in like the future, a long time, in a distant future.
I just don't like the state. Sorry.
But you're a market socialist, right?
Well, okay, that's what I identify as to be safe, I guess.
You don't have
Not
to be
like,
safe
Mhm.
here.
yeah, sure. I mean, like, the the problem is that I'm not super well read, so I don't have like a specific label. Like, I don't mean to say like safe, like I'm being like weaselly or whatever. I just mean like I don't really know what to call myself, I guess.
Um,
And market socialism just seems like the most like baseline next step thing, you know?
Yeah, I got you. Labels are weird because Americans don't know them very well, so.
Yeah. Comrade Bernie.
Joe Biden is gonna get wrecked by Trump. I'm sorry.
Wait. Okay. Are you like Bernie or bust?
No, I'm just not that much into electoral politics.
Is
But
that a
isn't
yes?
elect? So wait, isn't electoral politics like the ultimate pragmatism?
No,
What? How?
because you don't actually get anything done. Like,
So
That's arguable. Things have been gotten done through electoral politics, even though I butchered that statement.
at what expense?
so so like, what are you doing to further class consciousness or whatever?
I mean, I can't do much right now, but I guess I try to
So,
talk to my friends about it and stuff.
so isn't the only thing that in your power that you can do other than talking to your friends to vote for officials that will like inch us towards an ideal society?
But I don't think you can move towards an ideal society through reformism.
What about improving
Well, sure, but
actual
we move
living
towards the
people's material
revolution through reform.
conditions?
What? Can you? I like my internet cut off a bit.
Sorry, I was just saying like we move towards the revolution through reformism.
Also, improving actual living people's material conditions through like better policy.
I mean,
Yeah.
sure, but like you also have to take into account. Let's say like all the like welfare policies that we have in the first world are like off of the backs of the poor third world. Like we wouldn't have these things if our countries weren't super exploiting the global south.
But that's not an argument against electoralism. That's just saying that things are bad right now.
Well, yeah, but what's the point? Like, wait, let me get my thoughts straight.
No, for sure.
Why are you for electoralism?
Because electoralism is the only meaningful way that like I can contribute to my society right now. I think that a revolution is going to be way easier if we have a Democrat in office.
Why?
Because like Democrats are more favorable to ideas that move us towards class consciousness. If we
I
can
disagree.
so you think Republicans are what like do you think they're the same or what?
They're not the same, but I still think that they're like basically two sides of like the corporate power in America
But
or in other countries.
so if they're not the same then one is better than the other, correct?
Sure,
So
one it's better to vote for one than the other, but that doesn't mean that it's like tremendously relevant to vote in the first place.
but if we move towards better and then better and then better and then better, then we've gotten a lot better, right?
I mean, yeah, but that's purely hypothetical.
It's not though, because the Democrats have been moving further and further left over time.
Yeah, but they haven't been elected recently.
Partly
I
because
mean,
people don't vote for them.
yeah, yeah. And Obama is more I'm pretty sure Obama was more progressive than like Jimmy Carter or like FDR, right? Like for their time, sure, maybe they were more progressive, but the Democrats have been moving left over time. It seems like we're getting closer to what we want through electoralism.
Are we though?
Yes.
Democrats aren't offering any change on the material base of society.
Yes, they
They
are.
aren't, like, they're still upholding capitalism.
But you can uphold capitalism and further, like, material conditions or whatever it would be called. Like, you can make life better for people while preserving capital, not preserving capitalism, but like having capitalism.
Can you?
Yes.
I mean, like, the better living conditions we have in the West, like I said, are due to, like, the worst living conditions in the rest of the world.
but that doesn't say that like electoralism is bad or we can't have good material conditions in a capitalist society. Like, sure, capitalism is always going to facilitate a shit system, but that doesn't mean that we can't put socialism or put socialist policies into place in the framework of a capitalist system to make life better for people. Like, just throwing up your hands and saying whatever and letting Trump walk into the White House definitely isn't helping anything.
I mean, like, the difference between Trump and Obama isn't that big.
I don't know
What,
about
what
that take.
okay, well, we're voting between Trump and Biden, though, right? Like,
Yeah,
so let's talk about Trump and Biden.
okay. I still think Biden is still, like, going to support corporate interests and, like,
So, okay, so who do
not
you think
do
is gonna?
anything for the workers.
But who do you think is gonna support corporate interests more, Trump or Biden?
I don't think either one supports it more. They just support different corporate interests.
Well, like, are you? I guess I'm not super sure about like Biden supporting corporate interests or whatever. I'm sure that Biden definitely supports corporate interests, but I feel like there are definitely other areas where Biden far outshines Trump as far as material conditions for like the working class or whatever.
What areas?
Like free college, um, healthcare reform. Those are the two biggest ones that I can think of off the top of my head. Bernie has been like laying into Biden and like taking concession after concession after concession out of him. So like a Biden presidency will definitely be better for the working class than another Trump presidency. Like, that's pretty much inarguable to me.
Okay, all right, sure,
So wouldn't it be good to vote for Biden?
sure. Why not?
Okay.
Awesome.
But,
I'm
like,
glad we didn't have to
political
argue about
action
voting though.
shouldn't stop at electoralism.
What do you say?
Political action shouldn't stop at voting, like most
I
people
agree.
do,
I
I
agree.
totally agree with that too.
and it shouldn't even be a priority to vote. Like,
I
if
think
you're organizing in your community and you don't vote, I don't really care if you don't vote because what you're doing has, like, a far bigger effect than voting.
I definitely think that voting for local officials is like necessary, which means going to the ballot box. And if you're going to the ballot box anyway, then you should vote for the president.
Sure, but I still think local organizing has more importance, and not necessarily like running for governor, but just gaining mass support and being a part of your community so that they trust you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the like quote unquote perfect leftist is one that organizes in their community and votes down ballot. Like I feel like both of these things are like incredibly important.
I mean, I don't see voting as that relevant, to be honest.
Solitaire, what is going on over there?
What is happening? Yeah.
Oh, because I'm on my bed and there's dust on it, so I'm
Oh.
scraping it off.
I thought you were like sniffing into the like.
Into
No.
the jet.
No, yeah, I don't think there's any like reason to not vote. I don't like that at all. Not
I
voting
mean,
is cringe.
Agree.
why? Most people don't vote. Like,
Just
I
because
think
most
more than
people,
50% of Americans don't vote.
but that doesn't mean that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think that's a problem.
Is it? Is the
Yes.
problem that they don't vote or that the system is shit, so they don't feel like voting?
I mean, sure, yeah, maybe it's a systemic issue, but we can agree that not voting is a problem. Because this is a group of people that's not, like, participating in the democratic process. And I think it's pretty important for people to do that. Just, like, as a civic thing, I guess.
And I think if more people did, the left would do better, to be honest.
True.
We poll well, but we win shittily. We don't win, we lose.
We
I mean,
win poorly.
I don't see the left as being the Democrats at all.
No,
But
I'm
the
talking about like actual leftists, like people who aren't libs, like people like us.
But leftists don't win by voting. I don't agree with that.
but they do though, because any victory or any move towards class consciousness, like better conditions for the working class, is a move left.
Sure. But like Democrats have not done anything like
I mean, that's pretty
to
not.
realistically
Obamacare.
change the system.
I mean, just like Obamacare, good. Like it was a move in the right direction. Like sure, it was milk toast and like not like the best, but it was a move in the right direction. And I think that kind of incremental change is pretty paramount to like making things good for the working people to facilitate a revolution.
I mean, sure, but the Republicans can just come in next term and take it all away.
Then don't do it through executive action. Put it through Congress.
I mean, they can just do it through executive action. I don't believe in working through the system with the system.
But the reason why Obamacare didn't stick is because he forced a whole bunch of like, well, okay, the reason why Obamacare was so hard to like repeal and replace or whatever by Trump is because so much of Obamacare, like so many of the bills or whatever, were like woven into the system, so you had to go through Congress like over and over again. I feel like that's how we make change, make it super difficult for the next Republican to come around and like just erase everything.
You need
I
reform
mean,
that's durable if you're gonna do reform.
Right.
first of all, I think that's very hard to do.
Sure, it's hard, but that doesn't mean it's a bad goal to work towards. It doesn't mean we just like throw up our hands and like fuck electoralism or whatever.
And that's why we vote for the right Democrats. Like, it's not like we were pro Biden the entire time. We're only pro him because he's the only Democrat left. Like,
Quote Democrat left.
I mean, I just think that a lot of the left has too much of a big emphasis on voting.
I don't really. I see the opposite. I see so many like dumbass Reddit progressives. Like I'm not gonna go vote for Biden because he's a rapist. Like I feel like that's kind of like the left right now. I feel like the left needs to focus more on pragmatism.
I think that the left needs to focus more on organizing.
Sure, organizing is good, but how do you? It's so much easier to organize under Biden, though. Like,
Yeah, but organizing under Biden won't have the like goals that the working class needs to work toward.
do you think organizing under Trump would?
Sure, it would be harder, but it would still work.
what makes the goals different just because the president is different?
The goals aren't different.
But
I don't like.
why
What do you
can't
mean?
why can't we be okay with doing these things at the same time? Like, why does it have to be like a organizing versus electoralism or whatever? Like, can we just acknowledge that they're both important and like get people to vote for the right Democrats and then do that?
I mean, all you do is vote once every 4 years. It's not
That's
that
not
really.
true.
That's not true. You vote in like locals and primaries and all that
In the
stuff, right?
midterms, every 2 years.
Okay. I like because when you lose sight of like the actual working class interest because of electoralism, I think that's a huge threat to the left. Where all like it becomes a huge focus on just voting, when really we should be focusing much more on actually gaining a mass movement and mass support.
But like the entire point is like that's good, but it's easier under Biden, or like under a more.
Yeah, but you vote for Biden, but you just still continue organizing, which I don't see that much online leftists doing.
Then we need to get them to do it more. I mean, I feel like we mostly agree. I just don't think that being so dismissive of electoralism is helpful. So,
I mean,
because
I see a lot of the online left just talking about voting all the time and voting and voting. I think it's just putting way too much emphasis on voting.
I don't know. I don't know where you're seeing this, because I see like the total opposite. I see like hold the DNC hostage, like don't vote, don't give them what they want. I see all that stuff all the time.
Yeah, I see way more like black-pilled anti-electoralists than like rad-libby people who are just like, vote, just vote, don't do anything else.
Just vote for him.
I mean, I'd much prefer a black-pilled anti-electoralist actually organized than a like person who just votes.
On an individual level, sure, but
even on a mass level.
But I don't want an organizer to organize people and then tell them not to vote. If you can get an organized leftist group of people, you should use that to do like everything that you can to like further material conditions for the working class or whatever, and that means voting. So you should organize and then get people to fucking vote.
I disagree. The point of organizing is not to get people to vote.
Well, sure, it's not the point, but like if you have an organized group of people that's going to listen to what you say, it's probably morally correct to tell them to vote to further material conditions.
Okay, but voting, like, it's only a tiny part of it.
I mean, sure, like I agree, but it's not tiny if a lot of people do it. That's like, isn't that like a tenet of like populist leftism? Like the people matter, like put things in the hands of the people, and it'll be like cool or whatever.
Like, I don't think voting for the DNC is putting things in the hand of the people. The DNC still upholds capitalism and defends it.
But it's putting things more in the hands of people. Like getting people to vote is putting it in the hands of the people to an extent. Like, sure, it's watered down by like the corporate interests of the DNC or whatever, but it's still like more in the hands of the people than not voting.
Okay, sure.
So can we agree that we should both organize and vote?
Yes.
Yeah, but I still think that the primary emphasis should be on organizing.
I mean, I guess that's not much of a difference in reality. I don't think it should be this dichotomy of like what's primary and what, like, I feel like why can't we just equally advocate for both? Because they're both incredibly important.
But I don't think they're as important, both of them. I think voting is less important than actual real organizing.
But if they're both important, then why not try to get people to do both of them?
I'm sure we should try to get people to do both of them, but the main, like, principal issue should not be voting.
I feel like this isn't really going anywhere.
I feel like we're kind of circling on this one. We should kind of throw another topic out, maybe.
Okay.
Well, I don't have anything prepared.
I mean, yeah, we're very unprepared, but like, do you guys think that left unity is actually realistically possible?
Do you guys think of what is possible?
Like left unity, like the left as a sort of monolith unifying and actually fighting for the same things.
Yes. Yes. I think. I haven't thought about it.
Because if you spend time on Twitter, you lose hope for that every day. Like,
I mean, I don't really agree with left unity.
Do you think left unity is a bad thing?
Well, not necessarily.
Okay. So what do you mean you like disagree?
I mean,
You don't agree with
how do
the
I put this into
what is
words? Like, I mean, this Marxism doesn't really touch on left unity because it gives a way forward for the left to do things. And like, if other leftists disagree with it, like, see why like we should unite with.
but isn't that
but
just
isn't
like sectarianism at the end of the day? Should we all
Not
just be
necessarily.
doctrinaire like orthodox Marxists and damn everyone else? Like, I don't know if that makes sense in the real world.
Yeah, I feel like your movement is going to do way better the more people you have on your side. Like that's like we're not having like principled like well-read Marxists in our revolution. If we're going to have a like socialist revolution or whatever, it's going to be from like working class dumb fucks who like are just know that they're being fucked over.
I know, but I still think that these working class people need to be guided.
What do you mean, guy? Are you talking about like what's
The
the word?
Vanguard Party.
Vanguard part, yeah. Um I don't know about that. I, I I don't really know how to argue, but I feel like that comes from a base assumption that like people are stupid and need like I don't super love hierarchy that much, and a vanguard party sounds kind of like just like leading sheep to an end goal. It sounds
I
more
disagree.
it sounds more like you would be. It sounds more like a vanguard party would be using the people rather than working for the people.
I don't agree with that. I think like the goal of the Vanguard Party is to spread class consciousness first of all, and like
Sure,
make
why?
the people realize that they're in a class together and that they should unite.
But yeah, but I feel like people can probably do that without an authority over their head.
Like, have they though? Like, you look at a lot of like spontaneous movements, and they just like die out or like not.
But I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be a spontaneous movement. It can be incremental work towards like leftist shit, and then like class consciousness happens just because of like advancing material conditions and like people realizing what they're worth, and then a revolution happens, right? Like, am I off the mark on that?
Like, the basis of the Vanguard Party is like having the most advanced people of the working class basically trying to get other people on board with them. And
Yeah,
like these people organizing and agitating the others further.
I guess I'm just not super sure. I don't know. I feel like a vanguard party kind of necessarily like devalues the worth of the average person. Like, doesn't a vanguard party just put another like level of hierarchy between the working class person and corporate whatever? You know, doesn't it just create another hierarchy that needs to be abolished down the line anyway?
I mean, needing it to be having it abolished on the line anyway isn't necessary at the present moment. Like I don't really
Well, sure,
buy
but
into the whole hierarchy in the first place.
you don't buy into what?
Hierarchy and like it being bad.
Yikes, sis. I don't. Sorry.
I mean, 'cause
Go,
I just view hierarchy as
go
like
ahead.
coming out of existing material conditions or previous material conditions. They don't like come out of nowhere. they come because, you know, history led up to the point where they still exist, and like if they're gonna have to like disappear, they will eventually if the material conditions are developed enough.
But wait, aren't you saying that ideally hierarchy wouldn't exist?
I don't know, maybe one day it will fade away. I can't tell the future, but like I don't
Would you be in
seek
favor
to
of that?
abolish hierarchy.
Why not then?
I don't know, it just sounds like this whole like Vanguard party just kind of, it comes from an inherent assumption that some people are better or more powerful than like I just don't really like that. Like I'd rather have just like a populist movement where, you know, your like tech worker or whatever, or like Beverly Hills Hollywood guy is just as valuable as the guy like working on, you know, plowing fields or whatever. Like I just want people to be equal, I guess. Not have like
I mean,
working people guided towards some goal that they know nothing about. Like that just seems super weird.
but it's working class people guided by other working class people. It's not some
Yeah, but
people like
that doesn't make it any better though. Like I'd rather have like it just be like a populist movement with everybody on the kind of the same page. Like I don't really like this whole some people are better than others, or like guiding working class sheep to a end goal. Like that just seems bad.
I never framed it like that. I don't think it's guiding working class sheep to an end goal.
Well, sure you didn't frame it like that, but I feel like that's kind of what would happen.
You also did say
Not
guiding.
necessarily.
True.
Oh yeah.
But wait,
Like-
Stalin, how do you ensure that the Vanguard Party actually authentically represents the interests of the actual working class?
Well, first of all, the Vanguard Party are like members that are taken from the working class, the most like active, politically active and conscious. They're working class in the first place. Also, like they should always be connected with the working class. They should be among the working class, talking to them, asking them about their problems, about, you know, things. Like they shouldn't just be like issuing orders from above. That's just really, really dumb.
But if they're put on a position above, isn't there some incentive there to take advantage of that position and profit more off of it than the
I
people
mean,
that you're supposed to be
they're in a
representing?
position above, but they're also like, well, this depends. In socialist society, there's still democracy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like before, like organizing under capitalism, like they're not like the Vanguard Party isn't necessarily above the working class. They're just, I don't know how to say this.
It sounds like the Vanguard Party is above the working class.
Not there aren't though. They're like in a relationship with the working class. It's not above or under it.
Yeah, there can be hierarchical relationships.
Yeah, that's still a relationship.
So like I don't. Why is it bad that it's a hierarchical relationship?
I mean, I feel like in a lot of cases, hierarchy kind of becomes corrupt. Like when you have people that aren't connected necessarily with the interests of the working class, like sure you can say that they're still working class people, but when you're granting them all these like special names, like practically what would a Vanguard Party like look like? Like what kind of like powerful working class people are you talking about, I guess?
I mean, in what scenario?
I'm not really sure. Like, I just don't know how to argue against Vanguard Party or stuff or like hierarchy stuff if I don't really know what that would look like.
Because there's like the Vanguard Party organizing before, like under capitalism, and after. Well, it's not organizing anymore. It's like it has power after, I guess. Like, where are we talking about? Vanguard Party under capitalism or under socialism?
I mean, I guess I'm not really sure. I'm not super well read. It just sounds kind of weird.
Well, what conditions would you think the Vanguard Party would form under Stalin? I guess that's a better way of framing the question, maybe.
Under what do you mean? I mean under capitalism it forms, as we've seen before. It's basically like the Vanguard Party are workers who are more politically active and more class conscious. These people become full-time revolutionaries instead of like just staying working class, because it's much more productive for the working class. It's in their interest that these people like go onto organizing and agitating full-time rather than like only part-time.
Okay, so like, would people who wait, would people who already exist, even if they don't call themselves like the Vanguard, qualify as that then, like labor organizers and
Sure.
stuff like that?
Yeah.
So you're basically just advocating that they form a
A
party
good
politically?
leadership.
Does that manifest in like an electoral political party or like a syndicate or like
My internet is cutting. I didn't hear everything.
would that constitution wait no manifest itself in the form of like a syndicate or like a electoral third party option, like what?
I mean, it's a political party. It's basically, but it's not like it could like participate in like electoral politics, but the like actually it should participate. But the goal is not to like win. It's just to like propagate the ideas and class consciousness. Like the goal of the party that rises,
I mean,
like
sorry.
like the goal is to lead the working class to revolution.
Like, I don't deny like that there should be maybe revolutionary leaders, but I feel like it should be voluntary rather than like a bunch of vanguards or whatever like leading other people. Like I feel like it should be a hand in hand thing.
But it is voluntary. Like the Vanguard Party gets the support of the people. They don't like obligate them to support them. They need to actively be in the community and work for the people to get their support and get them to like follow them. It's basically the leaders who rise from the masses. But the masses, like, they wouldn't be nothing if the masses didn't support them.
This is kind of odd to me because what you're describing actually, and I feel kind of like a liberal for thinking this way, but it kind of sounds like you're just talking about like a Bernie Sanders type figure.
But not really.
But why not? Like he seems to fulfill all, like his slogan was literally not me us. Like his entire thing was that he represents the working class.
Yeah, but the thing is, Bernie Sanders was only going through electoral politics. I don't think Bernie was going to do a revolution of any sorts. And the true interests of the working class are in revolution.
Wait, so Bernie wasn't the vanguard because he was actually trying to win the presidency?
I don't think Bernie was the vanguard.
But is it just
I mean,
because he was
Bernie is
actually
only
trying to
one
win
person.
electorally?
Hmm?
But is it only because he was like trying to win the race instead of just being like, we'll revolt after this or something?
Yeah, because the goal is not to win the race. It's to beat the system itself.
But if you can occupy the levers of power, you can move things in a leftward direction.
I mean, sure, but it's very hard to occupy those positions if you're not in bed with like the people you don't want to be in bed with.
But he wasn't.
I mean, Bernie doesn't have a perfect track record.
But for as far as U.S. senators go, you gotta admit, so, like, even
I
the
mean, he
like
did vote for like bombing in Yugoslavia and a bunch of countries,
you have
like
to make
furthering the
votes.
imperialist USA.
You're inevitably gonna have to make votes that prop up the imperialist structure of the USA if you want to get anything done as an electoral official. Like that's just how the system like that's like a systemic thing. It's they vote on each other's bills so that they get votes on better bills. Like you have to compromise on some level with the atrocity of the system.
Like I don't see the emphasis on working within the system as being useful at all. I don't think the working class ultimately wins by like working through the system. Bernie is only working through the system.
But he's been working to further like material conditions and class consciousness, right? Like, isn't that a good thing?
Like, I'm not sure he's furthering class consciousness. Like yes, but like not directly.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I want to kind of bring it back to the Vanguard thing, I guess. Um, doesn't Vanguard, like, I guess you could call it like Vanguardism, like, isn't that kind of like anti-socialist in the sense that it kind of assumes that class consciousness needs to be brought about in a top-down way?
I mean, I can find a quote from Lenin
Okay,
for this exact thing.
sure.
I don't know if I can find it. I'm just
But
Googling.
like, if you're gonna try to free the working class, shouldn't that be done like by the working class though? Like, it seems like what kind of justifies like hierarchy in a way, like, or I guess justifies like rule.
Hmm. I mean, could you repeat?
It seems like socialism, sorry, it seems like vanguardism to me kind of assumes that working class people don't have enough power on their own to like free themselves.
I mean, I disagree. I think the Vanguard Party is sort of like the means of the working class to free themselves in a way. It's like,
But it does it in a top down way. Like, it doesn't seem like that solves the inherent problem if we're still moving things through like a top down kind of like we're the vanguard, you're the like working class, whatever. It doesn't seem like we're helping like the underlying assumptions this way. Like, shouldn't we be working together rather than having like, Vanguard and the others?
I found the quote. I'll give it to you and tell me what you think about it.
Sure.
Okay. I'll post it in like general.
All right.
Okay.
No, wait. I'll post it in debate. No, not debate. The live
Well,
stream chat.
stream Discord? Yeah, yeah, stream Discord chat. Right, give me a second to read this.
No, no problem.
Stalin with his passages.
I disagree with like the first sentence
Why?
because that's not true. Like, you don't have to be like profoundly intelligent to know that you're being taken advantage of by the system. You can just like know it.
I mean, yeah, but you can't put it on a scientific basis. You can
On
just
a
like
what?
hate your job but don't know why the system is like fucking you.
You can hate your job and then like learn why on your own.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need a Vanguard.
I mean, but that's the thing. If you learn why on your own and actually start engaging, you become the Vanguard. It's not like
Wait, so are we all like
Wait,
Vanguardians?
everyone's the Vanguard, then no one's the Vanguard.
when you're the Vanguard if you organize into a party with other people and organize the working class in a way.
It seems like perfect vanguardism isn't realistic then. Like it honestly, I get an idealist vibe from this type of thinking cuz like everything that we say is just like, well, no, it would actually just be this way, but then it's like, okay, then like I don't, it's kind of confusing.
But I mean, like, I think that, like, there is a correct way to do things and a good way to do things, the best way to do things. There is one. Like, the world operates by certain rules. Like, it's not just like different ideas that can all work. Only some specific things can work in certain situations. So, like, we need a specific approach. And I just think the Vanguard Party is the approach we need.
It just the Vanguard Party still assumes that some people are just like worse than like. So okay, your thing is that if you educate yourself and find out, class consciousness or whatever, that you become the Vanguard Party, right? So how is the Vanguard Party effective in bringing people in who aren't class conscious if you just become it anyway by
Well,
achieving consciousness on your own?
I mean,
Like that doesn't make much sense to me.
you become a like okay, maybe my explanation wasn't that good, but you become a class like a vanguard when you become a member of the Vanguard Party. When you actually like become when you educate yourself on it and become like conscious about it, but also when you start organizing with other people to form a party. That's the Vanguard Party.
So what does the party do?
It tries to get mass support and recruit more people into the party.
So why do we need this? Why do we need a Vanguard Party when we could just have people organizing and getting people to vote for like, you know, whatever person, and then we get them into office and then have a revolution? Like it doesn't seem like the Vanguard Party is super useful
Because
if we can just do it on our
you
own.
can't have a revolution by getting someone to the office. Like
Well, like
you can't
okay,
establish socialism by getting elected.
well, like yeah, obviously, but like you get more, like you get closer and closer to class consciousness in the political system, and then you have a revolution, like right, like I don't see where the Vanguard Party comes in, I guess.
Because like the political system isn't neutral. It's not like
Of
it's
course.
controlled by interest of people who are not working class.
So how would a Vanguard Party gain mass support and come about? Like like how would that happen?
I mean, it's happened before in like
Yeah,
Russia or Cuba. Well, Cuba was
so
weird, but
like oh,
like first of all, like there needs to be like usually revolutions have happened historically in times of like capitalist crisis.
yeah, of course.
Like when like I think it just makes sense. Like so like you can't just have a revolution come out of nowhere. There needs to be a situation for it to
Hmm.
happen. And that situation is the Vanguard Party, whose goal is to like take control and like destroy the existing state. Basically, that's the revolution.
I guess I
That's
just
why.
I guess I just still don't get what a Vanguard Party is doing that the people can't. Like why do we need like some like group of like magical class conscious guys to guide us when we could just do it on our own and contribute more to like socialist ideals of like populism and like you can do it type attitudes rather than still being led by a system or a party.
I don't really see the two as being like in contradiction.
See what in terms of being contradictory, sorry?
Like, could you just repeat?
I was saying that like I don't see what a vanguard party can do that the people can't because like vanguard party seems to contribute to the idea that like the average person needs something to look when that seems fundamentally like anti-people, anti-worker, anti-socialist, etc.
Okay, well, I think that the average worker does like literally just doesn't know how to like push forward into socialist society because he's just not educated on the subject. Like it requires a certain amount of knowledge to be able to like know
I,
what to do.
I don't think so. You can have a revolution full of people who have no idea what they're talking about if they hate capitalism enough. Or like if they hate their
I
job
mean,
enough.
has that ever happened though?
I mean, I feel like looking at what has happened doesn't really help. Like there's still more things that are going to happen in the world. Like
Yeah, but like historically speaking, the Vanguard Party
sure, the Vanguard.
has been successful.
Sure, but that doesn't mean that it's right. It doesn't mean that there's not a better way to do it. That like contributes more to like the tenets of like and the tenets and like ideals of like socialism, right?
I
It
mean,
just
I don't view it as tenets and ideals. That's the
well, okay, sure, but like isn't socialism kind of based on the idea that people and workers should have power?
yeah.
Then why do we need leaders and power to lead us to social, like doesn't that just like seem contradictory to you? Like am I off the mark on this? Like I don't know.
I mean, I see your point, but I don't think it's contradictory.
I mean, sure, it doesn't have to be like contradictory necessarily. It just seems like it's better if we establish precedent that workers can do like whatever the fuck they want, right? Without like vanguard weird
Well,
stuff.
I think Stalin would disagree with that purely because we shouldn't just be doing whatever we want. We should actually be forming a movement with specific
Well,
goals and actual capability of abolishing capitalism.
okay, yeah. I mean, I was speaking hyperbolically. I meant that workers can do whatever they want in the sense that like workers have the power, not necessarily
Right.
just do it. Like that's not what I meant. Sorry, I misspoke.
But
And I
I
think,
see it as the Vanguard Party being the like method of workers gaining power.
well, I think we could do it like why do we need the vanguard to educate the working class?
Well, because the like
Workers
working
are
class can't educate itself.
But
Well, I
why
mean,
does
it
it have to
can,
be a
but
top-down structure? Like can't it just be a decentralized movement?
it's not necessarily top down.
Dude, I looked up Vanguard Party and like everything I found said that Vanguard Party meant like top down organizing socialism stuff.
I mean,
It's
what is?
it seems like it's top down.
I mean, it's top down, but it's also down up. Like, I don't
How?
see top down being like. I think like power going up and down. They both exist at the. It's not like only one.
Sorry, you cut out a bit. It's not only one what?
Like it's not only top down or down up. It's both at the same time.
I still just don't think we need that. I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, like I said, it's the only thing that we've actually seen work on a large scale.
But again, that's not really an argument though.
Why not?
I mean, like, we've had capitalism for a long time. That doesn't mean we should just, like, stick to capitalism.
I know, but like the biggest global threat to capitalism to have ever existed was led by a vanguard party.
Okay, sure, but that doesn't mean that we can make bigger threat. I mean, yeah, sure, like, empirically, like, maybe it looks like that would be better, but that doesn't mean that it's, like, morally right or whatever.
But I don't make moral arguments. I don't care about morality in this context.
But also, is it pragmatically feasible with the conditions that we have now here, which are, I would argue, very different from when like the USSR arose.
Yeah, definitely. It's not the same at all. I'm a bit of like a third worldist where I that like revolution is more likely to happen like third world countries because you know you know how the US is. Like it's very like Red Scare propaganda. Uh,
Right.
I
I
don't
think
know
third
if it would
worldism
happen
is
in the
cringe.
US. Hmm?
I think third worldism is cringe, as what I know of it.
Why?
Because isn't it just like, oh, you're not actually proletariat if you're like an American at all? Like,
Well, it's not. Well, worldists are like that, but like how I see third worldism is just that the contradictions in capitalism are much more like big in the third world because they're the ones who get like the most exploited. So revolution is more likely to happen there, but it still can happen maybe in like first world countries. It just hasn't happened.
that makes sense to me. Like, yeah.
The silence is deafening.
So we want a third world vanguard party, Stalin. That's what you're for right now.
No, we need a vanguard party. But like the vanguard party doesn't always have the same role in the country.
Sorry, what?
Like let's say in the US, the vanguard party would much more be fighting its establishment, its government, than actually like trying to make a revolution because it just doesn't have the mass support necessary because the US just doesn't have class consciousness. It might someday, hopefully.
But we agree that we should do everything in our power to get there. So we don't
Yeah.
even have to circle back to that, but
Vote Biden, baby.
Like voting Biden is not enough though, because Biden is also the enemy at the same time. Like,
Of course. Yeah, never gonna be enough.
well, yeah, vote Biden
Like-
and then push him as hard as we can.
If you push him too hard, he'll die, Maddie.
Well, then whoever the VP is can step in. Like, I don't care if Biden dies. Like, do you guys
like
think
I
it'd
don't
be
see the
Klobuchar or-
Democrats.
Oh
I don't
God,
see the Democrats as our allies. Like that's the thing.
They
They
can
be
Democrats
useful, but
are like, sure, they're not our allies, but like they're necessary. Like we can't work without them. Sorry,
I mean,
but
we can to a certain extent.
Klobuchar.
But like, yeah, we should probably vote for them because they make organizing the working class easier.
Yeah.
But other than that, they're not going to lead us to like the emancipation of the working class.
Yeah, sure, but they'll lead us like super close, and then we'll revolution, ideally.
I mean, I don't even think they'll lead us super close. I think the conditions for revolution will come in a time of crisis.
We need to get someone into office that's as good a rhetorician. Not saying that Trump is a good rhetorician, but like we need someone like Trump, I guess, like kind of like a populist guy who's leftist, who dog whistles hard as shit to like class conscious leftists.
They'll destroy him, though. If Bernie did that, he wouldn't even have gotten as far as he did.
Well, yeah, of course. Like we need to get him into the office. Like we like sneak him in, right? Like,
But there's a reason why the right was able to do that with somebody who like dog whistles to racists and Nazis and stuff like that, is because like,
a lot of racists and Nazis in the U.S. Yeah.
and also neoliberal capitalism is like more friendly to that than communism. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah, I just think we need better political figures. Like we don't have anybody.
True. We need a Lenin.
we need an American Lenin.
We already
But
have one.
the state of the left in America is pretty sad.
True.
True. We'll
But
all agree with that,
what
but
were
we
you
all
saying
disagree
about
with each other.
Sorry.
But what were you saying?
Oh, I was just asking you what you were saying about Amy Klobuchar.
Oh, do you think that Biden will actually pick her?
Yeah, I don't know. I saw that she was being vetted or whatever, but like, oh god, that's gonna be bad.
Who's
Oh,
her?
She
what?
was another Democratic primary candidate for president.
Democratic.
What does she do?
She's like, okay, sorry. Give me one second. She's a nobody, so
She's
it's
a
hard
who
to.
megalol, yeah. No one knows.
We need Bernie vice president, and like Biden dies.
Okay,
That would
so
be
you.
epic. But like Klobuchar sucked. Like she was like one of my least favorite the entire time.
Yeah.
I mean, the only one I really cared about was Bernie.
Right. He was the
But
only correct
yeah,
option.
He was the only good one, really. I was like number one, Bernie. Number two, Warren. Tentatively. Number three, like Stayer. I don't know. Like they were all really bad.
yeah. But yeah, like shifting the what's it called?
Overton.
The window thing. Yeah, the Overton window to the left in the U.S. is pretty important.
True, and we can only do that through electoralism.
Well, yes, and you could do that pretty effectively through like mass propaganda, even on like the internet. I think there's like a movement towards the left.
Yeah, the ideological battle is important to me. The
Yeah.
three-pronged strategy is debate /
War.
discourse, voting, and organization. Like we should do all three.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if it's just me, but like a few years ago, it was like the right, which made like a big rise on the internet, Ben Shapiro and stuff. But I think the left is like currently like taking back, if that makes sense.
We're winning the culture war.
Outgoing the right. Yeah.
Through gay sex.
I mean, I think we are. Maybe I'm biased.
I don't think we're winning the culture war. I think we're like starting the race.
Yeah. Okay.
Or, like,
makes sense.
Militarizing in the internet.
We're getting in there.
I mean, back
Also,
in those days, I was like a Peterson fan. Like 3 years ago,
Oh my god.
Yeah,
I was
too.
cringe.
I went through my anti-SJW phase.
dude, I was too. It makes me cringe.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I was just on Discord earlier, and I was reading like some of my old DMs with some like friend of mine or whatever, and it was like 2017. I was talking about how I like liked Trump because he was changing things and he talked good. Like, it was really bad. keep in mind, I was like a baby. I'm still pretty young right now, but
Okay.
like 3 years ago, I was like a dumbass dude. Like, oh god.
Yeah, me too. Like, I never really held strong political opinions back then, but I was just like
Me too.
casually anti-SJ.
Yeah, I was casually like pro Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the straw man of the SJW is so effective. Like, if you don't
I know.
actually engage with the left's cultural ideas, that's literally what you think we are. Is you just think we're all just insane
Yeah.
college kids who
Yeah,
yell at everyone all the time and don't want to actually don't actually believe in helping the world. When in reality,
and
the cultural battle to me is really important.
Mm-hmm. Cultural
like,
Marxism.
oh god.
We're coming for your Western values, Peter. Watch.
We're coming for your like metaphysical hierarchy, postmodernist, whatever.
We're coming for your
Yeah.
mumbo
The way
jumbo.
he talks.
Peterson makes literally no, like, oh my god. When you actually listen to his speeches, it's just complicated rambling about like no.
I wish there was a Peterson that wasn't like reactionary, because a lot of like what he says about men and like what they need is like true, but I wish it wasn't framed through such a like, okay, yeah, men's rights, like cultural
Mm-hmm.
Marxism, JWs, whatever. You know, like I wish we could just have the good parts without the bad. But you know, that's the world we live in, I guess.
Yeah, I think the left needs like strong leaders on the internet.
Yeah.
We're starting to have some, but it's nowhere near like Peterson level.
Yeah, but and we also need unity. Like unity is important because it makes our movements bigger.
I mean, I think we need unity on the internet and like not necessarily an organization, if that makes sense.
I don't know. I think tactical unity should extend into the real world as well. Even if not
True,
everyone is doing all the
depends.
same things, we could still be on
Hmm.
the same side.
Yeah, but like it's just like I don't see like Maoists organizing the same as like anarchists. Like if you see what I mean. Like yeah, tactical unity is important against like fascists or whatever, but
It can also be
not.
strategically used. Like when is the
Yeah,
time to unify and when is the time to sort of go our separate ways, you know?
yeah,
But I don't think we're anywhere near the time to go our separate ways, though, because we live in like right wing hell world capitalist. You know, like I feel like the the time for that is much later.
I mean,
Yeah, I
I'm
think we
I'm in
should
Canada right now, so like, but I used to live in the U.S.
I think we should unify as anti-capitalist principally.
Yeah, I don't think Canadians are there either. Like, I mean, I guess
No,
about the material conditions in Canada, but like, I don't think that the time for divisive, like, tanky versus libcuck whatever is like. I don't think that discussion is like.
no, definitely not. But like, I think the working class will win like surprisingly fast. If there's like another Great Depression or something.
We need another Great Depression. We deserve another Great Depression.
Yeah, dude.
Hell world.
Well, there's so many splits on the online left to talk about, like wokelets versus edgies and like all this stuff. And yeah, we have like powerful people on the internet who are leftists, but they all hate each other. Like it's all so factionalist.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I because the right doesn't do this. Like,
No, they don't. They cooperate
The
well.
right is super dishonest. They don't give a shit. They don't have like any like
but that's the
goals except like I don't know, being dumb,
that's why
troll.
work though. Like a quote unquote classical libertarian will like just like sit on a panel with like a literal like kill Jewish people and like they'll be fine and push their rhetoric fine. Like the left doesn't do that, and
That's true.
that that's a that's a bad thing for us.
I think the left infights more because they're like honest, if that makes
The left infights because they have principles and like spines.
Yeah,
They value personal
I
responsibility,
agree.
and then the right doesn't necessarily value personal responsibility for action. So they can kind of just all do whatever they want together and have like a right-leaning movement, and like it
I
just
mean, it's
works.
funny because they're always the one talking about like personal responsibility and like, you know, you get it, but oh, it's so bad.
Yeah, I know.
They're so hypocritical.
Well, all their use of values like that are cynical. Like it's all just like they want you to believe in quote unquote personal responsibility so that you go to work every day. Like that. Like they just want to make you a
Yeah.
wage slave.
They just want to uphold the status quo.
Right.
That's all.
Hey, I'll be right back. 1 second. I need to go downstairs and grab my phone charger real quick.
All right.
Be right back.
The tanky and the Ancom are left alone.
Uh-oh. Only one of us leaves.
Right, but wouldn't you say that like the left equivalent of Peterson is like Slavoj Žižek?
Yeah, sort of. He's pretty funny, but like he doesn't have the same presence as Peterson.
He doesn't have the same what?
The same presence.
Yeah, but I mean, Jordan Peterson is like coming out of a coma right now, isn't he? Like he's not even doing anything lately.
To be honest, I just wish he never came back. Like the working class would just benefit from it. Like, I'm sorry, Peterson. Lobster Daddy.
Why did I even like him? Is what I want to know. Like,
I mean, he's kind of like. I understand why people like. They're kind of like appealing in a certain way, but at the same time, they just don't make sense.
well, it makes you feel smart to listen to a guy like that talk
Yeah.
and tell you obvious shit in elaborate ways, because then you're like, oh wow, like I knew this the entire time.
Yeah, Peterson is definitely that.
Totally. But also, like, he's kind of like a Rorschach test. Like, you can read whatever you personally think into the things that he says.
Yeah, he always has like massive plausible deniability because he's always so vague. Like, no, I didn't say that.
Right. And then you can just keep believing that he's not reactionary
Yeah.
until it's like, oh, wait, no, he probably is. Like,
Yeah, he's so unbelievably vague. Like, a lot of right wingers are really vague because it always gives them plausible deniability. It's like they
right.
can always like backtrack from something they said and just say, oh, that's not what I like, when it was obviously what they.
The strategic vagueness is really on their side.
I mean, I think the left should do it too. It's like be intentionally vague.
I don't know. I don't like intellectual dishonesty, even if it would be like long-term beneficial. I think we should like I think if we look good because we are good, it's better than us looking good even though we're not,
I
like,
guess.
even though we're being disingenuous.
But I think like we don't necessarily have to be disingenuous. We could just be vague and try to get like mass appeal instead of like, I don't know if this makes sense. Like propaganda and mass appeal, like
Well,
they do basically, because that's really important.
yeah, I am for like not just straight up walking up to some random working person and being like, "Hey, like here's a guillotine meme." Like that's obviously not gonna convince them, but so vagueness is good when you're talking to certain people, obviously.
Yeah, like you could just have like slogans almost, or like, you know, stuff that people will remember and will relate to instead of like talking about theory for 30 minutes.
But like we make up slogans and then the right just like acts as if they don't mean what they actually mean, you know? Like Black Lives Matter, and then they turn it into, wait, no, all lives matter. Like that's not the point. Like,
Oh my god, I have the perfect meme for this. Wait. Let me find it.
Hey, I'm back.
Hello.
Sorry, didn't mean to take so long.
Okay, I just posted it. You can go see it, Matt.
Exactly.
Sharing memes.
The right
True.
are the real NPCs.
Mm-hmm. And the classic Venezuela art. I always get it.
Do you guys know anything about Venezuela's like actual system? Cause like I don't. Like would they actually constitute any form of like real socialism?
Not really, but like I know the reason why Venezuela is like in the situation it is not because of like nationalizing the industry of like gas or anything. It has really barely anything to do with it. But like they just blame it all on social, which just doesn't make any sense, especially since like the U.S. has been like constantly putting like how do you call it like trading sanctions on
Yeah.
them ever since. Like
Yeah,
what the hell? You're not.
we conduct economic warfare on these countries and then we point the finger
Yeah,
like it's your fault that your people
yeah.
are
Like oh,
suffering.
socialism doesn't work, even though we're like embargoing you, like putting sanctions on you. We're just like straight up invading you. Like oh wait, your system doesn't work. But yeah, Venezuela is not really socialist. It's like mostly private.
I'm just trying to think of like things to bring up here.
Um, I don't.
I feel like talking more about the internet and like the online left.
Yeah, sure.
Because like the splits in the like I feel like I've made a lot of videos about that on my channel.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of thinking of doing more. Like this whole thing about debate bros has kind of given me a lot of ideas. Did you guys watch the Vosh and Mexi thing?
I did. Oh
No.
my god.
What about it?
It was like so. Mexi came in. This is my perspective. It seems like Mexi came in with a bunch of presuppositions about Vosh, and then Vosh took down like almost every single one of her presuppositions, and then she just said okay and moved on to another presupposition.
Hmm. I don't know. I don't. I didn't watch it.
That's kind of a fair representation of it. She made herself look terrible. Like she totally was not engaging with anything that he was saying by the end of it, and she was literally just like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." Like,
And she got so like, okay, I don't know if like catty is an unprogressive term or what, but it just seemed like she was being so like sarcastic and not good faith. Like it seemed like she didn't really come for a discussion. Or like by the end she wasn't there for a discussion.
well, it ended up like her only argument was like, you should just listen to people when they tell you things and just like not care about whether or not they actually have an argument for their position, which is a really
Right,
bad
yeah.
argument, which I think is why she just fell apart by the end, because it's like you can't you can't argue that.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I didn't see it.
Oh, by the way, Maddie, can you like link your channel? Like I want to subscribe.
Oh sure, yeah, totally. Um,
I subbed a while, but I
even
didn't
though
get to
Yes.
it's
watch any
Someone is
videos.
a true Maddie fan here.
it's weird how I get like a sub every day now. It's kind of
That's good.
Hey, one sub every day in a million years, you're gonna be the biggest
right.
biggest level YouTube.
But then sometimes
That's
I feel like oh my god, like my videos aren't even good. Like I feel that imposter syndrome of like I didn't even say anything. Like
Yeah, get an imposter syndrome like crazy. I hate.
You'll get there.
I mean, I'm not like a.
Wait,
Sorry,
what?
me.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just saying like I like write music or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like a lot of imposter syndrome doesn't come from like not actually being good at what you're doing, but becoming more critical of your work as you get better. Like I feel like if you frame it like that, then it gets a lot easier to handle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. If you view it as a progression.
Right. Yeah. Stream Discord. Oh, okay.
But Stalin, didn't you say that you were gonna make videos too?
I want to, but like I'm lazy and I don't have like the material to do it. I don't have
Dang.
the equipment.
I just use like all Apple shit. Like I just use like iMovie and OBS and my MacBook and like totally low budget setup here. I'm gonna get a mic eventually. Don't worry about that. I'm gonna improve the audio.
Okay.
But
But
huh?
if I make a channel, it's probably not gonna be my face talking. It's probably gonna be like, I don't know, like theory or something. Not
Yeah.
something like, I'm not gonna be a streamer or anything.
You're not gonna be a debate streamer, yeah.
No.
I'm trying to like build a bridge between like the radical trans world and like the debate bro quote unquote world because I feel like I have both those things in my personality. Like I'm edgy and like confrontational, but a lot of like leftist trans people kind of aren't lately. I'm kind of noticing, and that seems to be not to do like a id poll meme, but like it seems to be that kind
I
of
love.
group is like doing the whole anti-debate thing, and I just think that's not good for us.
No, not at all. Like, I don't think the debate bro attitude is the best either.
Well, yeah, if the caricature is like actually what someone's doing, that's not a good thing. Like the whole like you can definitely be overly confrontational, and like not everything is literally a debate where like one person has to be right and one person has to be wrong, which I think is kind of what Mexi was trying and failing to say to Vosh, maybe, but maybe I'm just giving her too much credit with that.
Yeah, free
I
marketplace.
don't like Vosh.
Why don't you like Vosh?
He's a gamer.
Oh yeah, you just hate all gamers.
Oh God.
Yeah, dude.
Hey, I'm a gamer. Come on now.
I hate you too.
I'm
I'm just
my
kidding.
sister watching the Joker downstairs. Gamers Rise.
Joker's
But
a
like,
good movie.
I don't hate gamers like the group. I hate like the gamer ideology. Like, I don't know, being annoying and cancer and toxic on the
Can you define
heard
gamer
of that.
ideology for me? What is gamer ideology?
That's gamer ideology. Like Xbox kids, gamers, or like
I don't
ego
think
douchebags.
I don't think Vosh is an Xbox kid.
Yeah,
Well,
Vosh is not
Vosh
a
has
gamer
gamer
in that way.
characteristics to him.
Like what?
Like, I don't know, he just has like a fat ego.
I think that just because he's Destiny's son, but you know.
Is having a big ego necessarily a bad thing if you're going to be an online figure? Like, sure, it's not a
No,
person,
but I just find it obnoxious. It's personal.
but you can acknowledge that it can be obnoxious and do good for the left, right? Like,
I mean, I don't like Vosh, but like, it doesn't really have to do with doing good for the left. I
so
just don't. I find him kind of dishonest.
what's dishonest about Vosh?
Like, a lot of his debates are like a lot of like psychoanalyzing his opponents, or like, I don't know. He doesn't always like attack the opponent's arguments all that much.
Can you give me an example of like him psychoanalyzing his opponents and not making arguments?
I mean, I don't watch him that much, but it's just a feeling I get.
Well, if you don't watch him, then how can you argue that, like, without actually knowing much of like what you're talking about, really?
I mean, okay, fair enough.
I don't mean to sound like, condescending about it or whatever, but I'm just genuinely curious how you can like make those arguments without actually having anything to back it up with.
Okay, what do you like Vosh then?
I like Vosh because I feel like he fills a unique role in the leftist political space that hasn't really been filled before. Like he bridges the gap between like principled leftism and like people who like watching debates and like blood sport, because like that's what got me into being like right leaning in the first place. I'm sure that's what got you into being a reactionary when you were like anti SJW whatever, like watching people get ripped apart. There isn't much ripping apart being done in the left, you know. I feel like Vosh serves a unique role in that and gets people over in an effective.
I guess, but like, I don't think it's like what the left needs at all.
But if it brings people to the left, then isn't that good?
I guess.
And it really wasn't there before Vosh, unless you would count Destiny on that. But then, he did his whole
I was a Destiny.
anti-lefty arc.
Yeah, I used to be a Destiny person. I can't really remember what like quote got me out of the right. I don't I wish I had like a story to tell or like a memory of like a specific person that did it. I think it was just a gradual ideological shift for me. But Vosh definitely like radicalized me, quote unquote.
I definitely would credit a lot of things to ContraPoints, because she's the one who pulled me away from Peterson. So
Who? Sorry.
ContraPoints.
Oh yeah. ContraPoints is amazing.
Yes.
I mean, what really got me my big shift was actually reading the Communist Manifesto.
That explains so much. Shit.
Like, I was already like getting into leftist ideas, but like that's really like the turning point.
And then it all made sense.
Right.
I've read the manifesto too. I feel like people should read theory. I'm a pro-reading type. That's where I disagree with Vosh.
Vosh is anti-reading.
Right.
Classic.
Okay, so I feel like I have a very good excuse for not being a theory nerd. I don't like reading because I have aphantasia, okay? I can't visualize things in my mind.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, like, I've never liked reading. That's been a very hard medium for me. That's, like, why I like blood sports so much.
I think
I get
what?
oppression.
You get oppression points for that?
Yeah, thank you.
Oh yeah, we're totally keeping track. You know us leftists, yeah.
Oppression points time.
No, I'm just like, I'm a liberal, okay? I'm not actually a liberal. I was pretending
What?
to be. I was just memeing.
Oh, okay.
We should get some liberals in here to debate.
Oh God, please no. I deal with enough liberals. Like when I post, I guess I do it to myself, but I post sometimes on like r/way of the burn or whatever, and then I talk to like Bernie or bust people. It triggers the fuck out of me. I gotta say.
Speaking of triggered, I can't. Do you guys have Facebook accounts? I can't scroll through Facebook without feeling like my brain is about to just explode in my skull.
I mean, I unliked everything on Facebook, so I just like don't see anything on my feed.
It's literally cancer.
Yeah,
don't
I don't
really
like Facebook. Like
Facebook.
social media is cancer in general.
Yeah, the only social media I really consume is like Reddit and Twitter.
I mean, I've gotten off Reddit and I'm pretty happy about it.
That's good.
I don't know.
That's probably like a good thing for your mental health.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're not a Chapo, Stalin.
Oh God.
Chapo. I mean, I only like the only social media, if it even counts as a social media, I really use is YouTube.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that kind of counts.
Like that's basically it. I try to like not spend that much time on the internet, even though I spend a lot. I try.
Well, it's sort of like a fake reality that's been constructed for
hmm
us to play within.
Honestly, like I have like a theory that like Instagram and Facebook are like actually a nuisance to like the working class because it makes people like how should I say this? Like it makes people concentrate on like other things that aren't really important, I guess.
Well, it enforces egotism, kind of, is what I see.
Also, yeah.
Which is, a distraction from unifying with your fellow comrades.
And also, it's just a waste of time. Like,
And it reinforces a competitive mindset, because that's, I feel,
yeah.
intrinsic to egotism, because it's like you've got a bunch of people who are like trying to make their lives look as good as
hmm
possible when,
It
like,
atomizes us a lot.
yeah, what they're hiding is this neoliberal malaise which we actually all live under.
hmm
So I try to just use social media like intelligently. Like don't fall into the traps of like
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I like
comparison.
Reddit. I feel like Reddit is like the ideal like social media, I guess, because like it kind of separates you from that like personal attachment that you might get because of the anonymity of it.
Go on 4chan for anime.
Oh God,
Don't go on 4chan.
don't go on 4chan.
I know, I'm kidding. 4chan is such a shithole. Oh my god, I can't believe it.
Yeah,
I'm happy I was never a 4chan.
Same.
yeah. My girlfriend used to be a 4chaner, like before we got together, like when she was like
Oh my god.
18 or whatever. Like,
hmm
yeah, she has a lot of internal like hatred for women because of it, which is
Oh
really
god.
yeah.
Yeah,
Internalized
4chan. What a
bigotry
great
is
place.
insane. Like
Oh yeah, I get that myself. Um, like I'm bi, okay, and
mhm.
like I while I identify with like masculinity, I guess I I feel like sometimes I feel like super uncomfortable like saying I'm bisexual because even though I know that like it doesn't make me less of a masculine person, I feel like it is because of like society or whatever. I think
hmm
Meg and I have talked about this.
Well, yeah, that's internalized misogyny.
Like,
Right. And that's cringe.
That's pretty cringe. Yeah.
me personally, like, identify as, like, a straight male, but I don't really feel all that much like a man. Like, yes, but at the same time, no. Like, it's weird. I don't feel like I fit into a category.
Well, you acknowledge that the category is just a construction and gender isn't real.
Yeah, it just feels like nonsense. Like, when you actually think about it.
Oh, by the way, I just want to ask, is this like YouTube content or are we just like having a conversation?
Oh, this will be a YouTube video, yeah.
Oh, okay.
We're just vibing.
We are just vibing. That sounds lovely. Um, I was just, I think about like, I don't know. maybe it's a little weird to bring up my personal political conversations with like my mom or whatever, but like when I try to talk to her about shit like this, like I feel like I get so far like on certain progressive axes. Like
Mhm.
we had a long discussion about like gender or whatever, and it kind of seemed like she started to agree with like gender being bad for people like that don't fit into those type of things, and then she turns around and says things like black people are afraid of dogs, and then I'm just like, what are we
Oh God.
like what the fuck? Like
Yeah.
I feel like it gets so far, and then I don't understand. I don't get it.
It
I don't.
takes a long time for people to change, I feel.
Yeah, I don't see how you can be so progressive on an issue like gender and then be so like out of touch in other ways. It just doesn't make much sense to me.
Well, I think
Mhm.
that's why an intersectional lens is good to have, because it's like you view all these things as social systems, and like anti-essentialism is also important, because it seems like the core of the issue with a lot of bigotry is like they believe that these categories of people are just like handed down from the heavens, and that like, they like exist in
Yeah, yeah.
nature, and they fail to understand them as societal concepts, which is like
Mhm.
that's really the thing that's hard to drag people out of, because they're so encouraged to think these things.
Mhm. Like presuppose it. It's weird.
Yeah, it's got to be something to do with like how we educate people from like the youngest of
Yeah.
ages.
Yeah, it's societal like constructs and education.
Even though higher education is like the the place where all of this like deconstructionist theory is coming from, like it needs to be opened up to the masses. Like we would have a
Mhm.
better world if we had free college. Like neoliberal incoherence is saying, "Oh, you can fix all these problems with education, but college should have a barrier of entry that's
Yeah.
monetary." It's like, "All right, then you're never going to get anywhere as far as actually improving society."
I think I'm gonna go now.
Oh, all right.
Oh, damn. All right. Well, it was a good talk.
Yeah. I still like talking on like text chat more.
Well,
That's fine.
yeah, we don't have to do videos like this all the time,
Mhm.
but it's nice to
I
actually have content where I'm talking to people.
yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like before this, I felt like I was super like not well equipped for this medium or whatever, but now I feel like I could kind of do it like
Mhm.
whenever. Like I'd like to talk more on your stream, Maddie.
Fuck yeah.
Sounds
All
fun.
right.
I mean, I'm not the best like interlocutor or whatever, but like I don't know. I can hold a conversation, I guess.
I'm like, I feel like I'm much better at putting thoughts into words, like written words and like spoken words.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't necessarily want to be like an online figure or anything, but like I like talking to people.
Yeah, yeah, talking is fun. But like also like just talking about stuff is
And it's good because like I don't have anyone in my real life to talk to about leftism except like my sister.
hmm
Like I live in Alabama. Like
Oh God.
yeah, yeah.
That's like the worst state.
Yeah, it's not like as bad as a lot of people's like there aren't like plantations like on every corner like people think, but it's like pretty religious and conservative as pretty cringe. But yeah, I have this thing like all the time. Like one of my music friends, I guess, online that I stream with sometimes, or I like co-host, quote unquote, on his like music music composition stream or whatever. Like we talk, and he's from California, and so much of the stuff that I say about like day to day life, he just doesn't get at all. And whenever he characterizes me to his friends, he's like, "This is the one from Alabama." I don't know why it has to be such a big identity with him, but I guess it's just like the culture shock, you know.
Mm-hmm. And
Very
yet,
fun.
Nazis talk about a unified white American culture that we have to protect. It's like, okay, dude.
Yeah, yeah,
All right, goodbye.
All
yeah. I'll
right.
see. It was very fun.
See
Bye,
you guys
Comrade
around.
Stalin. And then there
Yes.
were two. Oh, shit.
Sorry, that was my mom.
Do you want to, like, continue talking, or?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm just like being a gamer.
I see.
So yeah, I'm not really doing anything right now. Um, it's nice to be able to actually call your political opponent Stalin. That's fun.
I know. He calls himself that.
That's funny.
But, he's, like, way, like, he's the most reasonable tanky. I guarantee you.
Really?
I mean, he agreed that we should vote Biden. Like, he agreed on electoral reform as being legit. He ultimately did.
I feel like a lot of that conversation was just like, yes, but one is better than the other, and that's not a super interesting conversation to me. Like, sure, organizing is better than the other, but it doesn't really matter to me.
Right.
Like, like we should just, because like a core principle of like communism or whatever is like, what wasn't it Marx that said like from each from each according to his ability, to each according to his need, or whatever. Like, isn't that like, if you can vote, vote, if you can organize, organize, if you can do both, do both. Like, why can't we approach it like that?
Right. Like, ability. Yeah, yeah. That makes sense.
Because like
Even
not
though
everybody
that, yeah.
has the social, you know whatever social power to be able to just like organize.
Right. And, like, not everyone is even able to be, like, this vanguard figure, which I think is part of their point, is, like, it's like a hierarchy of competence, and therefore it's, like, justified, but that is kind of, like, right-wing
Yeah,
language.
that seems super weird. I don't like the whole like we need vanguard daddies to guide us to class conscious. Like, it seems like that just undermines the entire thing that we're talking about with like power in the working class, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not a vanguardist, but like I was thinking that whole time, like, I wish I had a better theoretical argument
Me too.
as
Me
an
too.
anarchist against this.
Right. Yeah, I didn't really know what to say a lot of the time. And I guess that just like speaks to me not being very well read. Like, I guess like I have principles or whatever, but it's hard for me to articulate a lot of what I think. Just because of my lack of theory knowledge, I guess.
Hmm. Stalin is all theory.
Yeah, I know Vosh did a thing on like he did a debate with some Vanguard tanky guy, but I couldn't find it.
He's been debating tankies his entire career.
Oh, he's like the anti-tanky guy. Like,
Yeah. Well, like, I feel like if you're a tanky, you can't be in his community. Like, he just bans you.
yeah, okay. That is one thing that I think is pretty cringe about Vosh. He literally just like bans people for no reason sometimes.
Well, I think he views it as, like, part of his anti-parasocial type thing of, like, he's trying to draw a fine line between his audience and his, like, personal life. So, like, he reserves the right to cut whoever he wants off for any reason.
Sure. Yeah. I can see that.
Because, like, all streamers kind of operate that way. Like, Hassan will ban you if you, like, call him ugly or something, like, you know, like.
Isn't Hassan like a Bernie or Buster though?
Is he? Does he have that cringe take? If he does, I'm gonna be really disappointed.
Yeah, I don't really know. I just feel like that I get like he I think he spends so much time shitting on Biden that it's hard for me to think that he's like vote Biden.
Well, Kyle Kulinski is the one who's went off the deep end with the busting shit.
Yeah, I wish it would be so good if Kyle Kalinske would debate Vosh. I would love that shit.
Yeah, but he didn't. He denied it.
Yeah, that made me so sad. Cuz I genuinely I do want blood. I need it.
Yeah, blood sports is entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting at with Vosh serving a valuable like contribution to the left. Like I wouldn't be so I wouldn't be nearly as like articulate. I wouldn't even be like I wouldn't even be to the point of feeling comfortable calling myself like market socialist or whatever without like just consuming that kind of media, you know? Like I don't want to sit around and like listen to people talk about like Marxist theory. I want to see like someone like rip another person to shreds or whatever.
Yeah, it's effective for people who like watching people get quote unquote destroyed. If we have
Yeah,
leftists actually destroying people, like that is an important piece of our online presence. But he's just like,
right.
or Stalin was just like, yeah, I don't know if that's really what we need. It's like, just because there's not a Marxist theoretical justification for it doesn't mean we don't need it.
Yeah. And I think I mean, a lot of it makes sense within his worldview. Like, we don't need to bring people together if we're just going to have a Vanguard party come and save us from, capitalism, whatever, you know?
Yeah, but that is kind of like a low resolution picture of his position. It's not just like it'll
That's true,
magically
yeah.
happen.
Yeah, I mean, I can't perfectly characterize his position, but I guess it would make sense in that purview.
But I mean, I feel like I'm like a spawn of Vosh and ContraPoints. Like
Me too. If Vosh had his way, you would be what would come out. Sorry, bad joke.
exactly,
I know.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about that is like ContraPoints, and so am I. Like, yeah, joke, like make sexual jokes about me all you want. Like, we're totally cool with that.
Okay, yeah. That is a thing. Like before Vosh, a lot of edgy people who want to say, whatever, I guess, who are big like freedom of speech junkies or whatever, don't have anybody in like didn't have anybody before Vosh or whatever, you know? I feel like that's important.
Yeah, he allows edginess, and I think the left could use an edge, to be honest.
Right, yeah.
And then like, do you know who Xander Hall is? He's like the,
I I I know of him. I haven't consumed much of his media. My sister was listening to him one day. He sounded kind of like a second Vosh.
well, he kind of is, but like, he is also doing the whole like,
Eight bro, like lefty thing.
yeah, he's like the other debater on the left,
Yeah, like edge tube.
right? You know, the thing about like left tube or like bread tube or whatever, like the online left is like we're kind of just a brand in a way. Like we're kind of just a type of content that you can consume if you want. But then like us just doing that,
As
like the
my
only
analogy.
intrinsic value of that is the ideological battle. Like it's not really doing anything to break down capitalism.
Capital. Yeah, yeah.
which if I think about that too much, I get depressed because it's like, oh my god, like nothing we do will fix anything.
Yeah, are we actually doing anything materially for the world?
Yeah, which I
Yeah.
mean, I think that's a universal sort of struggle under the stage of things that we're under right now is like people feel like there's this sense of alienation of like, am I contributing to my society or am I just another cog in the machine? Like,
Right. And that is genuinely upsetting. I feel like if you get super emotionally invested in politics, your mental health is going to plummet.
well, there's that too. Like, you should definitely have sort of a healthy emotional relationship with it.
Yeah, a degree of separation.
Yes. While still like giving a shit. Like, don't just be like
Right.
apathetic.
Kyle Kalinske.
But I don't know about like the online left substantially growing or winning, to be honest, because like it's not like the online right isn't still like in power. Like they are, like they're still here, like they're still literally,
Yeah.
like you find a Discord server with politics and it's gonna be filled with Nazis. Like,
Yeah, they definitely still have like some capital in that sense. And that's sad. Very sad.
it's like we're fighting against every advantage.
Yeah, especially when there's so much left infighting. That's why I hate it so much. Like we'd be so much better off if people could just like literally if people could just get along. Like
Yeah.
having the whole like, oh, Vosh said the R word or whatever. Like sure, you probably shouldn't say the R word, but also doing that shit makes you look so weak. Like what like do you really is that really the conversation that we need to be having right now in like a late stage capitalist purview? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
We can nitpick at each other all day. Like,
we can nitpick what?
we could nitpick at each other all day. Like, it's not gonna further the movement to just like eat each other like they say we do.
Yeet each other? What?
Eat each other.
Did you?
Like, you know, the left is eating itself, that whole thing.
Oh, I thought you said to yeet each other.
Well,
I was
that too. Like, we can't just chuck each other out of the windows. Like,
yeah, sure. Like men and whatnot.
but I'm glad
it,
that like we can talk with people who have like inner left disagreements in like a what feels like a constructive way. Like I feel like if we didn't just have that conversation, like Stalin could have been a Bernie or Buster. Like,
yeah, definitely. I feel like there are conversations that need to be that need to be had. Um, but I feel like they need to happen out of the public space. I don't feel like we need to be having like big arguments with one another where there's this idea that one leftist is worse than the other because this esoteric position on like the Vanguard party or whatever, or this like cancel-y idea where if someone says something too edgy, then they're like not a real leftist. I feel like that's super harmful for discourse. Like that's really bad optics when we're just like throwing each other out the window for saying bad words. Like that makes us look so bad, and we'd have a much stronger online presence if leftists could just accept some leftists have different roles than others, but at the end of the day we still want the same things like class consciousness, revolution probably, capitalism bad. Like those types of things we can agree on, but then like I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? Like
I
we need to
totally
stop.
agree. Yeah.
It just seems so counterproductive. It makes us look so stupid, and I don't really like that. I don't like looking stupid.
Same. And like we should unify around our agreements because like just accusing each other of you're not a real leftist isn't productive because it's like no, that person that you're pointing your finger at probably actually agrees with you about capitalism and socialism like
Yeah, because the right doesn't do that. They can all gather around these like core tenets that they have, like I don't know, capitalism good, like fuck the poor or whatever. But like it like and that helps them. That's so good for them because they just get to circle jerk all day and have like huge online presences without challenging each other at all. And then they get to rail against the left that can't even hold itself together. Like it's frustrating. It's really frustrating.
true. The only right infighting that I see is like between the really, really deep in it fascists, you know?
But even then, I feel like they get along with more right light type things.
Right. It all just coalesces around the continuation of
They
the
can get
status quo,
along
yeah.
because they don't cancel each other. You know.
Yeah, because they don't care about like bigotry means nothing to them. Like they don't even see the
So
world like that.
yeah. So I guess my question would be like, what's the solution to this? Like, I don't. I'm super uncomfortable just saying like, don't care, lol. But like at the same time, it's like you kind of have to if you want to move forward.
Well, I don't know what the broader solution is because I feel like another reason why we infight more than the right does is actually because like we don't have such a conformity bias in our minds. You know what I mean? Like we're not trying to like we're not trying to agree with people necessarily. We're trying to like disagree with the way that things are. So like we're just pushed into this nonconformist position, and you get a bunch of nonconformists together. They're probably gonna start arguing with each other. Like,
Yeah, I haven't actually really thought about that whole nonconformity angle. Um, I wonder how you would combat that in like online left spaces.
well, what I see, um, that happens is like you get a bunch of little subconformities that start going at each other. Like the woke scold sort of brand of leftism is, I think, like just a bunch of people who want to find another another place to think as a group and conform to that's an alternative to the ideology of the status quo. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So are you saying like we need like a nonconformist consciousness, like something like we're all nonconformists here, like let's get along, kind of thing?
Yeah, like just unify around our agreements. I think that's really like at the end of the day what we need to do.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
And then like the rest of it can just be like okay, like maybe a little bit of like edge policing is acceptable cuz like we don't want actual like
Yeah, you don't want people coming into like leftist communities claiming to be leftist and saying like fuck black people, but at the same time like you can't be sitting around saying like, oh, he said that black nationalism is bad, to use the Vosh example. Like he said
right.
that black nationalism is bad when he didn't really know what black nationalism was. Canceled, Vosh is a racist. That Yeah, I feel like that kind of stuff is super bad for the left.
It is. But where was I going with that?
Um
We do need a little bit of like edge policing because like
oh
we don't want each other to be reactionary, you know? But it's just
yeah.
like we should be emotionally intelligent as well. Like you should be able to take that and you should be able to like agree like yes, like I did this wrong thing or whatever, you know? And then, like, when someone's not actually doing anything wrong, don't go after them as if they are, is the other end of that.
Yeah.
But that's like a whole nother big thing of its own in a way, because it's like part of that is just like actual mental illness of people, like, you know, like,
Yeah.
and people in minority categories just want to vent sometimes, you know what I mean? Like those spaces should definitely
For sure.
exist.
Sorry, I'm texting my sister right now. um yeah, those, because there are like sensitive people who exist that don't necessarily want to be like fucking like debate bros or whatever. Um but you can't have that be the forefront of the movement, because when you have a bunch of sensitive people leading the leftist movement, then you have a sensitive movement, and sensitive movements don't win.
Right.
And that's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow, because I feel like a lot of people think like fall into this trap of like, if I just have the facts, and if I just know the best way, and I just have all the arguments, and I'm just good, and I'm ideologically pure, then we'll win. But that's not the case. You have to have like rhetoric and image and like appeal, like broad appeal.
Optics are important.
Yeah, you can't just like be pure. Like that doesn't win anything.
Yeah, you can't just be like the pure lefty and then attack everyone else because they're not that. That's not. That is literally a losing strategy.
Yeah, yeah. You're attacking your own, and that's pretty cringe.
But like, what do we disagree on?
I I don't really know. I feel like I'm not as big of like a theory head. I feel like you could probably bring me over on like whatever you wanted, to be honest.
Well, when I was trying to get your like socialist denomination, and then you're just like market socialist, it made me think like, okay, you this is probably a Vosh fan, like a fellow Vosh fan who's just like saying that,
Yeah.
and they're actually like an anarchist. Like, would you be on like more the ANCOM end of things?
I mean, sure, like ideally, yeah. Encom probably good, because like hierarchy bad,
Right.
gener- generally speaking. Um I don't know. Labels are really hard. And I don't really feel like I feel like I'm never gonna feel like I know enough to put myself into any kind of a ideological box right now. Um, I'd like to get some formal education on it. Like, um, I haven't. I'm like, just for some perspective, I'm like fresh out of high school.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I'd love to take some like politics, sociology type class in college or whatever. But outside of that, like, I don't know what label I would really be able to put myself into. Um, it's definitely a difficult thing, and it's also something that I'm not really super attached to. I'm not a big like label person.
Right, yeah. It's more like about what people actually believe. Like, I bet there's people who call themselves anarchists that are like actually tankies if you actually look at what they. But yeah, so like you definitely come off, especially when talking to Stalin, like anti hierarchy, anti authority, which is based, in my opinion.
Which is based, however.
um, but like what he says about that is like I think there was this essay that like Engels wrote one time about like you have these people who just think that when you call something authoritarian, that just means it's bad, but like authoritarianism isn't intrinsically bad was basically the argument. Who's hello?
Wait, what?
Someone just joined the voice chat.
Oh, Marcus Smart.
Hola.
We're streaming right now, which is why I haven't been answering your messages, by the way, your DMs.
Okay.
But we were just talking about anarchism and Engels' arguments against it.
I see.
But where was I with that?
You're talking about Engels. Authoritarianism isn't necessarily bad because
like the argument is basically like we can use the levers of power to basically, like, it seems honestly like it boils down to oppress the oppressor's back, which I don't know if that was really the gist of the essay that he wrote, but like that's the vibe I get from a lot of authoritarian leftists.
yeah, I don't super get on board with that. I mean, I can kind of see it from from the perspective of like everyone's ideal society is one in which is like an authoritarian regime which like perfectly upholds their moral values or whatever. And I can kind of see that angle, but at the same time it's like what's the point? Because values change.
Yeah, and like Stalin literally said, like morals aren't objective. So why
Right.
instantiate them into like a state structure as if they are like
Yeah. That's why we talked about this with the death penalty, and I feel like I got him to. Well, I don't think we ever disagreed fundamentally on the death penalty, but that's kind of why I think that the death penalty is bad, right? Because we can never. I feel like I can never fully trust the state to be moral
right, cuz
or
like
to dictate morality per se.
and like do you really want the state to have the power legally to kill people? Like that's like the silver bullet argument that always wins death
Yeah,
penalty debates with me. Is like do you really want to like it just boils down to the power to me.
yeah. Because state power is like it's a hard thing because it's just like the state is never gonna really understand like working class whatever, you know. I feel like that's what it comes down to.
But the off left argument is like once the Vanguard party takes over, the state will be the working class.
Yeah, but then it's not really then why have that hierarchy and not just like I don't know, like why not just be like an anarchist thing where everybody agrees on what's good without having the state uphold stuff, you
Right,
know?
like why not make it bottom up instead of
Right.
top down? Those like libertarian versus authoritarian type arguments are like really interesting to me, even though they're kind of not like as we were talking about before, like not like the forefront debate that we like should really be having, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just interesting because like historically the tankies kill the anarchists. Like that's what tends to happen when they actually get
Yeah.
power. So it's like it's an issue that we should probably look at.
Should probably what?
Probably look at least, you know.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it is important.
But what was he like pro death penalty? I didn't even like catch that part.
I don't think he was pro death penalty. It seemed like we agreed that in like a I'm trying to think of the wording that he used in in like peacetime, the death penalty should never exist. But in a revolutionary perspective, the death penalty is like fine because they deserve it. I don't know.
Well, in a revolutionary scenario, I would totally justify political violence. Like yes, we
Yeah,
should.
political violence is cool, but I don't know if like killing people is good. Like sure as a power move or whatever, but like I don't know.
I don't think that um like the socialist movement killing people in a revolutionary scenario constitutes a death penalty. Like that's not the same.
Yeah. So I'm not really sure what he was talking about then. I guess.
Unless he just means like once we won, like liquidating the bourgeoisie, but like
What did you think about the whole like work camps? I thought that was really weird.
yeah, that the bringing back the gulag statement that he made was kind of like okay, dude.
It literally sounded like gulag stuff. And that's not what I want. Like I haven't really thought about like ideal like rehabilitation whatever in like my ideal lefty world or whatever, but like I feel like work camps are not the way to go. Like I don't know.
Well, when you have forced labor anywhere, like just the international image, which I mean, if he were here, it'd probably be like, I don't care how we look to other states, but like, you're gonna look bad when you are enslaving people. Like, we're supposed to be against that.
Yeah, but I don't think that's even the problem. I think the problem is there being a state incentive to like um to locking people up. Like when you take some, he'll say, well, okay, when you take some working musician or whatever and then like turn him into like a slave for the state and move him to this like city or where like there's work or whatever, they're going to be doing a job that they don't want to do to like in the interest of the government. I feel like there isn't going to be like a thing where you can go to this like friendly little gulag where you do whatever you want and work for the state. No, it's going to be jobs that the state wants you to do. So whether or not they're like gaining net labor or whatever, they're still getting you to do what they want you to do, and it provides incentive for the state to just like lock people up willy nilly, which is why the prison industrial complex in the United States is so bad.
Yeah, it's like he would just be reifying a political or a prison industry, just
Right?
state
Yeah.
run, which would make it okay. I get like, I don't know. I just know I'm not for that because to me, like the point of trying to actualize communism is to make it so that like people are free to just do the work they want to do. Like,
Yeah, without like locking them up and making them like plow fields all day. Like that just
right.
seems he didn't really seem to have a counter argument when I said like the state extracting resources from someone is like having incentive to extract resources from criminals is bad, and then he was like you wouldn't necessarily extract resources or whatever, and then I was like labor's a resource. He just said sure. Like I feel like that's kind of the killing blow.
Well, yeah, because he can't disagree that labor is a resource. Like,
Right.
that'd be so inconsistent.
Yeah.
I had a interesting debate. I don't know if you saw that with one of the like libertarians who are on this server um about abortion.
Okay. And what did this libertarian think?
Well, he's not pro-choice despite being quote unquote libertarian. So we were arguing about like where does life start, blah blah blah, but I was like I don't even want to have that argument. I want to like argue on basically on the basis that if you're like regardless of what you are, like personhood status, human status, living status, if you're inside, literally inside someone else's body and dependent on their body that you're inside, then you're subject to all of the decisions that they make with their body, with their bodily autonomy. So therefore, like according to that position, it would be inconsistent of me to say that there's any limit to where or when you can abort the like full term abortion should be legal.
Right, yeah.
And then when I said that, he was like, "Oh, you're what did he say? He's like that's a cruel position and I can't talk to you anymore." And then he just left the conversation.
Oh my. Yeah, this like weird like libertarian quote like thing that they do is super weird.
Well, it's like if you're they call themselves right wingers will call themselves libertarians if they like believe in like smoking weed or whatever, you know? But then like on the issue of like abortion, they're pro-life. On the issue of like immigration, they're like build the wall. It's like you're not a libertarian, like
Right. Yeah. I don't know.
But my point there was that that was like a silver bullet for me. Full term, doesn't matter.
Yeah, but okay, I did see somebody argue that like you should be able to kill like 3-year-olds if like it's just a late term abortion.
Oh yeah.
Which I don't necessarily I don't know if I buy that yet.
Well, that's not my argument because like they're outside the womb then. So like then like you can't kill them. Like I'm not pro infanticide.
Yeah, I mean for sure.
I think that person just like has like a memey hatred of infants for some reason. I don't know why.
A Mimi what?
Hatred of babies.
Oh, yeah. I mean, babies are pretty stupid. They don't work. I don't know.
I don't know. Babies in the gulag. Oh god.
Babies in the gulag.
That's when the tankies become the libertarians.
Oh, you're right.
Maybe horseshoe theory is real, no?
Oh god. Okay. I don't know if I'll go that far.
No, I'm just memeing, but
Yeah, I know. I followed you on Twitter, by the way.
fuck yeah. I'm growing. Holy shit. I'm actually doing something with my life. Like
Hey, that's good. That's better than me.
what was I just oh yeah. I had like if you like go back on my channel, I was like playing like I had this other character named Tessa that I played, which was like a hyper feminine like version of myself essentially just to like express it like anonymously, but then like
Yeah.
I actually like came out to like people in my actual life and then I was just like, well, there's not really any point in faking who I am on the internet anymore. So like I'll just be myself on the internet now too. But like if you see any videos of me like using a different name on my channel, like that's why. Don't like get confused. I'm not like two different people at once or anything.
Right, yeah, it's just a character. I can see that.
But I
like
dropped the character. Like I don't do that anymore.
Yeah. Do you think that's why Contra did it for a while?
Oh, probably. But her thing is like a Socratic dialogue kind of where it's like she
Yeah.
embodies an idea in two different characters and has them like go at it.
Yeah.
It's more of a narrative decision, I think, for her.
Which is very cool.
It is. And right wingers will get confused. They think that she's like, they always accuse her, and even like just leftist ContraPoints haters just accuse her of like style over substance. Like, you're just trying to distract us with your elaborate sets and things like that. But it's like, no, she just cares about making good videos. Like,
Yeah. And she does make good videos.
exactly.
Like, ugh. I love Contra.
Same. I would say who doesn't, but like we know who doesn't. Like,
Yeah, we know.
but we have any like final topics or anything? Because like I'm probably gonna wrap up the stream
Yeah,
soon.
Yeah, I do kind of have to go soon. I am getting very tired, much too tired for a conversation. But I'll be in the DMs. We can talk whenever.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was super fun. I enjoyed talking for a little bit.
Yeah, we went like almost 3 hours on that, believe it or not.
Nice. I mean, that's good content.
It is.
Maybe I'm not good content, but I feel like collectively,
No, I
we
think you are. Like I need to keep you around.
All right, take me under your wing.
Okay.
Well, all right. We'll definitely talk later. It was fun coming on.
All right, you say trans rights and then we can
Oh, of course, trans right. I love trans people. Okay. But
Awesome. Okay. That was great. I'm so happy with how that went.